Hey, welcome back to Worldwide Giant Growers 2015 seed starting video. It's been a long winter. We're ready to rock and roll. We had a great 2014 around the world. A lot of personal best all over the world. We're going to do it again this year. I'm very optimistic. What I'd like to tell you today is it's April 8th, 2015. Can I talk to you about where you should be at right now with your garden? You're growing. This is basically for some of the new growers who kind of want to know when they should do this, when they should do that. Where you should be right now is possibly testing your soil. I have a bag here from Western Labs. There's several good places across the country, around the world, that you can have your soil tested. You get a small sample and pull it out of your garden. Don't use metal instruments, use plastic tools, and get samples out of your soil from like 4 to 6 inches deep, maybe even 8 inches deep, depending on your type of soil, and be sending this off to get a sample. Do this before you add amendments, before you add compost. Do this prior to that, and then check your soil and see where you're at. And it'll help you, let you know what you need to add to your soil. Then again, after we're done, I usually test it again after I add my compost and stuff later on. Sometimes I do. Last year I didn't. Anyways, what we're doing here today mostly is trying to get people that are new to show them how to start seeds. I have here's some seeds from my 1609 Clements right here. I also got some great pointers from some tomato growers. Here's some seeds from Dan McCoy's 8.41 world record. Marvin Meisner gave me a good tip last year on soaking the seeds. If you let them soak in a glass of water at like room temperature or a little warmer if possible for 4 or 5 days, they'll pop a root. Sometimes they'll pop a root sooner than that. And then once they pop a root, you can take them out of the glass of water and plant them in a pot. So for you tomato growers, there you go. There's a good pointer for that. Well, a lot of guys like to start out with their seeds. Some guys like to file their seeds. You take some sandpaper and you take the seed you want to file. You don't want to file that point or sand that point. You want to sand the crown. You want to take and sand the crown around the edges and get through that edge of that seed so that when we soak them in water and when they come out, the jackets will come off easier. And then once you sand that, get some of that off of there. Make sure you don't go too crazy and go all the way through. Then we go ahead and we soak them in water. I like to take these little cups of water and I write on here, here's one right here, the 1947 Clements. We soak them in the water. If you want, you can add a little hydrogen peroxide in the water to make sure you kill any cooties on the outside of the shells. There's no mold or anything going on there. I find that soaking them longer is better. At first I used to soak them for like an hour and I did have problems germinating seeds, but now that I go much longer than that, let them soak for 3, 4, 5 hours. It's not going to hurt a thing. I was down in Charleston this winter and I started some pumpkin seeds in Charleston, South Carolina. I let them soak all night, like 8 hours. And then I put them in a room that was like 74 degrees and they popped a root within a day and a half, 2 days. They were popping a root out of the seed. So that's pretty good. So I think the longer soak has turned out to be the better deal. I got a friend right now down in Port Charlotte, Florida, growing a watermelon plant out in his yard that we germinated down there the end of January, early February, and he's growing a watermelon. He's growing the 198 Clements. Anyways, after soaking your seeds, we'll let them soak for a while there. What we like to do is I like to use the peat pots. I take the peat pots, I write the seed. Always keep track of what your seeds are, very important. These seed genetics, you want to make sure you don't get them mixed up. Write the seed on here with a Sharpie, 2036. And then I have this Warrior. What I bought this year was Warrior Seed Starter. You can buy Jiffy Seed Starter. It's best just to use a very loose, just a sterile seed starter. Pretty close to sterile. You don't want to get into stuff that's all layered. I don't use the Pro Mix. I use the Pro Mix later. The Pro Mix is actually in the bags. These, when I transplant from the peat to the bag, that's where your Pro Mix is. But what we do is we take and we wet this down to where it'll hold together in a ball, but when you squeeze it, there's no water dripping out. I think I might be able to just get this started, and that's perfect. It'll hold together but not squeeze water out of it. And then we stuff the pots with that. Don't pack them down real tight. You want to leave them loose. You want them loose so that that seed can, has no resistance to popping that root. And then we take and I put a little hole in there. And we take and point down, put the seed point down, and put it in there. At this point, I put it just a little bit below the surface, like a 1/4 inch. All I'm trying to do is get that root to ignite. Get the root to ignite and get it popped. And then I place all of these. I like these right here. This is my favorite way to do it. They come with a dome. Where'd my little dome go? Anyways, they got a clear dome that goes on top, but I like to place them all in here. This thing holds like 15 of them or more. Let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, like 21 pots in here. That's why people say, why do you use such a small pot? Because I can do 21 plants at a time in one heat chamber. Once I get them all loaded up and in here, then what I do is I take saran wrap. And I like to run saran wrap over the top of them so they don't dry out. Now you can do that whether you're in a cooler or in one of these chambers or a cardboard box. I recommend putting the saran wrap on top. And once we get to that point, let me find my lid. I got my lid around here. My little short lid. I just had it a minute ago. Anyways, my dome. I got a taller one. Here's a taller one. We use that for now. I got several taller ones. I bought taller ones in case you want to use bigger pots. You can buy the bigger dome. But they also come shorter. Put your dome on there. You got the saran wrap on there so they don't lose all their moisture out of them. And there you go. These are nice too if you want bigger pots. If you want to start them in 1-quart pots, you can buy the taller dome. Get these at your local hydroponics store. And you can start like 8 of them in here in like 1-quart pots. They should go about 3 days. After about 3 to 5 days, these things should be popping roots. Once they do, I like to, once they pop the soil, I like to take them out. Take them out. They don't need bottom heat any longer. It can actually become a problem at that point. We'll take them, and once they've developed 2 cots and they're looking good, the roots popping out the bottom, I want to take and transplant them into these bags. I've got these 2-gallon bags that I put duct tape on here for a handle. And I'll also take my Sharpie and I'll write on the handle which seed it is. You want to make sure you do not jump ahead of yourself. Keep track. If this is the 2323 Meyer, which I'm growing this year, one of them, then make sure that... and one thing you want to do is you want to start as many seeds as you can of each plant. If you've got 4 seeds of a plant, let's say you've got 4 1947 clemences, start all 4 of them. Start all 4 of them. You're going to pick the best 2 plants to go in the garden, and the best 2 are going to go put them at opposite ends of the growing site and let them grow towards each other, and you'll decide which plant is the best. Sometimes you get a plant, something's wrong with it, it'll double vine on you, who knows what, things happen, and you don't want to get stuck a whole season wasted because you were trying to conserve on seeds. I highly recommend the Chris Kent, Ron Wallace, start 3 or 4 plants and cull down to 1. I did that with the 2036 Glazer this year I'll be growing. I have 4 seeds, I'll be starting 4 of them. Anyways, we do that, get to that point. I like the bag method. I put these paint sticks in the bag. These are paint sticks you can get at any paint store. I stick them down on the sides here and leave them in there. The plant's going to stay in this bag for 2 to 3 weeks. The plant can get quite big. And that's what you want. You don't need to worry about them getting root bound. That's not an issue. You want a big root system to go in the ground, not some little spindly seedling that's not going to stand up to a little cold weather and maybe some, cool spring nights. The bigger the plant, the better. I do believe that's true. Last year I planted my 1768. That was my 2009 Wallace, a little small plant, and that kind of struggled, was very slow starting. I stuck the 1317 in the ground, a much bigger plant, and it took off much faster, and it had a lot to do with the size of the plant. And when you want to cut these off, you can take a razor blade, cut down these paint sticks, and you won't be cutting open the roots. You won't be cutting off any roots, you'll be cutting against that paint stick. and fold the bag. I'll be showing you that in our next video, which our next videos will be members only exclusive videos. I'll send out a passcode to all the members. You can have access to these videos for as little as a $35 membership, and you'll also get some seeds sent to you, and then the membership levels go up from there. There's a $95 membership which comes with my root keeper. My root keeper here, I've made up a little batch of this. It's a half teaspoon. This is my new formula, Mark's Mix, of Trichoderma, Bacillus, and Mycorrhiza. We inoculate the seedlings as we transplant them into the bags. It will be their first inoculation. And then after that, I will inoculate them every 2 to 3 weeks throughout the season. I'll show you that in the videos, how to exactly do that. Also how to use my Grow, my Bloom, my CalMag, and Mark's Special Tea, which comes as a liquid. The others are all water-soluble powders. I'll show you how to mix them and how we're going to do the Benny Meyer trickle feed. I've learned a lot from Benny. I've learned a lot from growers around the world. Combined all the different tips and growing ideas from them along with what I've done for the past 20 years of growing, and combine that to try to, everybody's dream, grow a world record. We're all shooting for that world record, whether you admit it or not. It's everybody's dream. Anyways, I love the peat pots. A couple tips on these. Soak them in a bucket of water. I have a bucket of water here. And I like to soak the peat pots in a bucket of water prior to filling them. File your seeds. Make sure you plant them point down. Sometimes when the seeds come up, they'll come up and they won't want to get off the plant. If you don't get the seed shell off the plant soon enough, sometimes it will actually, when it does come off, the cots will be starting to get mushy and nasty inside. So I actually take a pair of needle nose pliers. Once they're popping out of the ground, take a pair of needle nose pliers. I have it on one of my videos, you can see. And just gently squeeze that shell. Just gently crack it and squeeze it, not real hard. And you'll actually crack it and weaken that thing where you can actually lift it off with your fingers. Just do that very carefully. Anything else I wanted to share with you today? Oh yeah, the other method, if you don't want to do the peat pot method, you don't like that idea, I do have a version here of a poor man's cup. If you eat at McDonald's, these are oatmeal cups at McDonald's. And I cut the bottom out of the cup, turn them upside down, fill them. You can plant your seed in there, and then when it's time to take it out, you just pop the bottom off. Pop the bottom off, and this thing will just come right out. As you can see, it's narrow at the top, wider at the bottom. It should just pull right off. Those are a great cup. I've collected several dozens of these. I love eating my oatmeal at McDonald's every morning. Another way guys do it is they wrap the seeds in a wet rag. Take a wet rag, and make sure, if I didn't mention, make sure when you use the root keeper, use non-chlorinated water. Chlorine will kill your beneficials. Take a damp rag, nice wet rag. Soak your seeds the same amount of time, 3-4 hours of soaking your seeds. And take your seeds, wrap them in the rag, put them in a Ziploc bag, and then you can place them in a heat chamber. But I would not place them directly to the heat. I would put a buffer in there. I like to use like either a piece of drywall, either a piece of 1x4, and lay them on that piece of styrofoam. This is a good buffer right here. Take a piece of this styrofoam. Lay it in the bottom of your heat pad. You don't want the plants, the seeds, directly on the heat. They could get too hot. You'll burn them. They won't germinate well. That's one good way to go. Let's see. Your seeds should germinate in 3 to 5 days. They'll be in these pots, and once they get up and looking, a couple decent looking cots, I like to transplant them in the bags at that point. Our next video is going to be the first private video, like the first week of May, weather permitting, and I will put my plants out in the soil. I'm going to make a video transplanting them into the garden. The videos this year will be more detailed than ever. We're not going to have a bunch of clowning around with Bubba. It's going to be more serious, hands-on, how to trickle feed these plants and get them to their maximum potential. I believe this year that we can grow some 2,000 pounders. I believe that weather permitting, the weather's got to work with us too, but weather permitting, there'll be a couple of 2,000 pounders coming out of my patch. I like to make crazy predictions like that. We'll see how it plays out. And one thing we're going to do every video this year, we're also going to have the balls. We're going to pick a ball out of the cage every video and give away some free product. So this video here, the winner is number 62. Number 62. Another thing I'm not going to do this year is we're not going to edit the videos to save time and get them to you guys faster so that you can use the stuff. I don't want the videos to be late. I plan on being ahead of the curve here and have my plants just maxed out. The winner is 62, Jeremiah Plansky. You just won some Root Keeper. I'll send you some Root Keeper. Contact me, Mark at WWGG.com. You are our first winner of the year. And so far we have over 110 members signed up and entered. It was let's see, there's 18 people in the bronze, 4 golds, and I think there's 14 Root Keeper memberships. People that receive product. If you'd like to receive my new products, Mark's Mixes, contact me or go to the membership page at WWGG.com and you can watch the video there explaining how the contest works this year. I want to thank you. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, Mark at WWGG.com. Thank you very much.